Something massive is happening on the other side of the world, and it tells you everything you need to know about what it means to have a real commander-in-chief back in the White House. While the legacy media is busy chasing their tails and playing their usual pathetic games, President Trump just made a move in the Persian Gulf that has the entire region and, frankly, the entire world sitting up and taking notice. And it involves one of the most powerful weapons ever built by human hands. Make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video because I'm going to show you exactly why what's happening right now in the Strait of Hormuz is one of the greatest displays of American strength in a generation and tells us everything we need to know for what's next in the weeks ahead. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot professor, enjoying yet another glorious day in Trump's golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We are now officially on day 25 of Operation Epic Fury, the ongoing U.S.-Israeli air campaign against Iran. And in that time, American forces have flown more than 8,000 combat sorties over Iranian territory. Let that number sink in for a moment. 8,000. That's not a pinprick strike. That's not a strongly worded letter from the EU. That's the systematic, methodical, and absolutely relentless dismantling of the Islamic Republic's ability to make war. CENTCOM just released satellite imagery before and after of one of the most consequential recent strikes, a turbine engine production plant that manufactures the very engines that power Iran's Shahed attack drones. You know, those drones Iran has been hurling by the hundreds at our Gulf allies, hitting Kuwait's oil refineries and desalination plants that millions of people depend on for drinking water. That factory is rubble now, and the F-15E Strike Eagle is one of the major ways in how we're doing that. If you don't know, the F-15E is considered by many to be the single best fighter jet ever made. It reaches Mach 1.3 plus. It's loaded with precision-guided GBU-54 Joint Direct Attack munitions, and its precision strike capability is simply without equal. I mean, take a look at what it can accomplish with one pass above a target. I mean, these are before and after images of an Iranian ballistic missile assembly facility. That's the devastation a single F-15 can cause in one flyover. And it's precisely what's being used to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. As many of you know, the Strait is the jugular vein of the global energy economy. Roughly 20% of the world's entire oil supply passes through that narrow waterway. And this is really, you have to remember, this is one of the fundamental reasons why Trump launched Operation Epic Fury. We've talked a lot about this. China was beginning to gain a monopoly over Hormuz by way of their vassal proxy, Iran. China bought up 80% of Iran's oil. They were responsible for financing all of Iran's infrastructure projects. And they were beginning to exercise inordinate influence in the region. And a nuclearized Iran would make permanent China's tacit control over the single most significant energy choke point on the planet. And so when Iran announced it was closing the Strait at the start of Operation Epic Fury, oil prices shot above $100 a barrel. The global economy went into full alarm mode. And that, of course, was part of Iran's strategy: park anti-ship cruise missiles in hardened underground bunkers along the coastline, deploy mobile drone launch vehicles on the southern shore, launch swarms of cheap Shahed-type attack drones to threaten any vessel that dared to try to pass through. And for a while it worked. Of course, satellite images showed hundreds of oil tankers and cargo ships lined up outside the strait afraid to move. So then enter the F-15E Strike Eagle, key to a systematic, multi-phase campaign to deny Iran the ability to threaten Hormuz at all. And we're now getting reports that the Strike Eagle was able to locate and destroy Iran's mobile launch vehicles before they even launched. And as we saw, F-15s fired precision-guided munitions to neutralize mobile launchers. They destroyed drone assembly plants and fueling depots, and this provided the space for B-1 bombers and F-35s to finish the job, basically crushing Iran's drone and missile backbone so thoroughly that Iran's ability to threaten Hormuz shipping has been systematically collapsed. All the while, my personal favorite, the A-10 Warthog, known as the Flying Tank, handles the fast attack boats in the Strait itself. That combined force has in effect obliterated Iran's capabilities to threaten the Gulf. Again, the firepower is so overwhelming that Iran has officially cried uncle. Wait until you see this. But first, gang, stories on social media are drawing attention to the rise of colorectal cancer among young adults. Since 2005, colorectal cancer deaths have increased in people under 50. And just for the record, ChatGPT confirms that 65% of private oncologists' revenue comes from prescribing chemotherapy. Could recent turbo cancer in young just be a coincidence? The good news is plenty of studies now show that traditional treatments are no longer the only choice. For example, Anthony Latai, director of the National Cancer Institute, recently acknowledged scientific interest in more rigorous preclinical studies of ivermectin's effects on cancer cells. The wellness company is a pioneer of medical freedom. Their medical board has stayed on the pulse of off-label cancer solution success stories and studies, removing red tape for you to easily access alternative medicines. Introducing American-made ivermectin, safe, trusted, tested, and produced locally in Florida. Ivermectin has been prescribed globally for more than 30 years, and he even earned the Nobel Prize in Medicine for its proven ability to eliminate parasites. The wellness company is offering an 18-milligram dose for just $3.50 per tablet. You get a 6-month supply of 84 tablets, all at an unbeatable price. Get your U.S.-made ivermectin and own your health. Click on that link below or go to twc.health/Turley and use code Turley to save $45 off plus free shipping.
Either for medical purposes, civilian purposes?
They have. Thank you.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of that?
That'll be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By whom?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me
control
and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime.
That's President Trump taking an early victory lap there, making it clear that Hormuz is now increasingly under American and international control. Again, one of the fundamental reasons why he initiated Operation Epic Fury was to wrench control away from China. And as you can see now, increasingly, Iranian officials are acquiescing to that. So where do we stand now after 3 weeks of Operation Epic Fury? Well, war historian Victor Davis Hanson has a very good assessment of where we are right now and where we're going. Iran is, by every traditional military measure, inert. They are defeated. Okay, their navy non-existent, their air force gone, their missile defense is obliterated. Iran's drone and missile arsenal have been reduced to roughly 10% of what they were when the campaign began. This is a military evisceration, the likes of which the world hasn't seen in decades. But here's where VDH is particularly prescient, drawing from the precedent of the past. Napoleon won virtually every single battle when he invaded Russia. He even captured Moscow. But he had no plan to force the Tsar out. He had no plan for strategic resolution. And so the greatest military genius of his era lost the war. Similarly, the Germans in 1941, they won battle after battle. They pushed all the way to the first subway station outside Moscow. And then they stalled because they had no plan beyond the next tactical victory. And, something similar happened with us, hitting back here at home when the United States obliterated the capabilities of Iraq or Afghanistan. And yet, we in many ways lost both campaigns because tactical wins without a strategic endgame are just very expensive stalemates. And so what is Iran's strategy right now? Well, what remains of the mullahs for the remnant of the mullahs, they don't necessarily need their military to survive. What they need is their oil. More than anything else, they need the source. They need their cash flow. And as long as Karg Island and Iran's massive oil fields are intact, the regime believes they can simply outlast Trump. So their calculation is this. They've watched 7 American presidents do absolutely nothing right after the Beirut barracks bombing, after the Khobar towers, after the USS Cole, and they believe Trump is an aberration. He's not the norm. They think that if they can just endure the next 2.5 more years, they'll get either a feckless Democrat or a neo-isolationist Republican, and they can rebuild. That's the strategic trap Trump now faces. Trump has largely accomplished his 4 stated military goals. Right? He's destroyed Iran's missile-making capacities, achieved full air supremacy. He's eliminated the Navy, and he's set back the nuclear program by decades. That in and of itself is extraordinary. But it's the 5th goal, regime change. That can't be delivered by air power alone. It requires the Iranian people to rise up. And here's the painful irony in this. If Trump were to hit Karg Island and the oil fields to drain the regime of its cash flow, he risks devastating the very Iranian people he wants to liberate. So the bottom line in this is Trump has done what no president since Reagan even dreamed of doing to Iran. He's obliterated their capacity to project power, and he's reduced the regime to rubble. But now comes, ironically, the hardest part, turning the greatest tactical victory in a generation into a lasting strategic win. The mullahs are in the back of a tiger. The moment they step off, they know they're finished. The question is, will the Iranian people finally push them off? And that is what we'll be watching for in the days and the weeks ahead. Before you go, if you're not in the Courageous Patriots Club yet, you're missing our weekly deep dives, Monday night Q&A, and a community of patriots who actually think. Link below. Come join us.